Howdy folks, I'm Simple Silver Maple, softly speaking to shimmery silverfish.
I'm Amber.
And here are more shimmery silverfish for us to speak to. They're shimmering because they're actually alien silverfish that have come from another planet, and they're highly intelligent. And so they communicate with shimmering.
Very intriguing.
It's very intriguing, but they also want to take over our planet, so a little terrifying. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Cooking Lunch for My Female Coworker After My Wife Went to Her Male Best Friend's Wedding Without Me? My wife and I have been married for 2 years and together for 6. We've both been cheated on before, so there are some insecurities on both sides which have carried over from our previous relationships. A year ago, my wife got an invitation to a wedding from her childhood best friend, who she considers like a brother growing up. But they had slowly distanced from each other after college. She was still occasionally in touch with him. The wedding was at the other end of the country. My wife really wanted to attend the wedding, and she also said that she would treat this as a solo vacation and explore the city. I was really uncomfortable with that, especially because her friend had only sent the invitation to her and not me. I told her that I wasn't comfortable with it, but she really wanted to go and gave me reassurances. So I told her okay to go ahead. My wife was really thankful, and a few months later, she was attending the wedding. When she came back home, she was really happy, and I was happy for her too. However, I realized that I had some leeway now, and there was nothing wrong with having friends of the opposite gender. My female coworker and I always had lunch together. We both joined the company around the same time. Our discussions were usually just jokes, and we didn't delve too much into our personal lives. My wife knows about her. She's even looked up her socials, and my wife admitted that she was insecure because the coworker was just really pretty. And that's why I was always on the edge and making sure that I didn't cross any boundaries when speaking with my coworker. However, after my wife attended her childhood's best friend's wedding, I released some of the shackles and I spoke more freely with my coworker. It was still normal conversations, but it was still also more free flowing. One day, she made my favorite lunch that we could both share, and the next week I decided to make her favorite lunch so we could both share it as well. And we do this once a week. My wife knew about this because I tell her everything, and initially she did not say anything, and I know she did not because she knew that it would be hypocritical of her to say anything after she had attended the wedding. However, a couple months later, my wife asked if I could stop making these lunches, and I told her no. I told her that it was healthy to have a connection outside of the family, and I also told her that I definitely would have stopped if she hadn't attended the wedding. But she had no leeway to lecture me on a normal male-female friendship anymore. Am I the jerk? Alright folks, what do you think?
Yes, OP is being a major jerk here. First of all, he gave her the go-ahead to go, and then he's like, well, since she's going, I'm going to let down all the boundaries I had in this relationship. There is nothing wrong with people of different genders having friendships. That is totally fine. But there are boundaries you have to put in place if they're people you might be attracted to. And it's a very different situation to go to a friend's wedding across the country. It seems like he has never even met OP because he lives so far away. So it kind of makes sense that only OP's wife would get the invite. Versus changing, like, it seems like he had boundaries about what types of topics he thought were appropriate when he's in a relationship. Letting go of all those boundaries, sharing, like making lunches for each other, there's not necessarily like it. I don't know exactly what he's doing, but it definitely seems like it's bordering on potentially emotional affair territory.
So, I have a lot of questions here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you hit on a lot of points. And I think certainly, like, the reason why he probably wasn't invited to the wedding wasn't because the groom was interested in, having an affair with OP's wife, right? And he doesn't even seem to make it seem like that either, right? She went to a wedding to support a union, and it was likely a limited guest list, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really what's important to note here is that in all likelihood, this was just because of the limited guest list. It wasn't like she was going and getting paired off with a groomsman or something like that, right? And they were expected to, like, share and blah, 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 right?
Right, and she probably wasn't even on the top tier of the invite list. You know, she was kind of like, oh, someone I know and I'm kind of friendly list. So like, if she had been like a main person in the wedding, it might have made more sense for her to have a +1. But if she's just kind of like a last minute invite or, you know, kind of like lesser consideration, you know.
Yeah. So, and I mean, the thing is, like, sometimes weddings, they get very expensive. And so if you're inviting a lot of people, it can be really hard. As for OP and this interaction here, this feels more like retribution than it feels like um, anything else, right? And I think for that, OP should seek counseling, or they should go to couples counseling where it's wrong for him to feel like he should have some kind of retribution against his wife.
Right. It's almost like he counts what she did as cheating because even though he gave her the go ahead to go, she should have known that he really didn't want her to go. And so now he's gonna, you know, revenge cheat on her type of deal.
Now, I don't know if he intends on cheating on her, right? Now, I think that making a lunch for your friend is perfectly reasonable, and it doesn't sound like, according to OP, at least his account of things, it doesn't sound like this has bordered into an affair territory yet, right? But, like you said, he established boundaries that he thought was reasonable for him to have for just a friend for a coworker, right? A colleague or a friend. And now he seems to be moving that because he of some kind of perceived like moving boundary from his wife, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I really wonder what these conversations are that he wasn't having before because that would give us a lot more information. Because on its face, it's hard to say, like, what he's doing. I mean, it's clear that what he's doing is making his wife uncomfortable, but it's hard to say without more information, like, how inappropriate it is.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, certainly, like, her feeling jealous and insecure. I mean, that's, sometimes people feel jealous and insecure, and that's a good reason for them to go into couples counseling anyways, right? But if he has a friend, then that's really on her to control those emotions and that emotional response. But then again, like if they had already had this established like dynamic where there were certain things that were inside of the relationship deal breakers, right? Then if he goes ahead and starts doing these deal breakers because he feels like he's allowed to now, then that becomes a little bit of a different situation. So I think this one has enough like unanswered questions that I would have a really hard time making a solid judgment on it.
I mean, the biggest reason why I put him in the jerk category is this is clearly retribution. Like, I don't know if his actions in particular are questionable, all of them, but like his motivations are enough to put him in the jerk category for me.
I think his motivations are certainly are not good, right? I think that he is a jerk for his motivations. As for the conversations with his friend and making lunches, I'm not sure that I would qualify that as jerk territory or not. I would have to know more about how fancy are these meals? What kind of conversations are they having here? Are they talking about very intimate things, right?
Well, and they're kind of already fostering a somewhat intimate environment. If they're like making each other's favorite lunches and whatnot, it would be my concern that it's kind of like bordering toward that emotional affair territory.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, again, like I think that that's going to be something that every relationship is going to kind of view differently, and it's something that's really hard to examine with the information that we have here. I don't know. I think that could go either way for me. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. But folks, because there's so much ambiguity here, let's see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say. Wheel of Judgment, turn. Tell us the judgment that OP's earned. Try again later.
The Wheel doesn't have enough information either.
I guess so. Thank you, Wheel. We appreciate your contribution here, which was exactly nothing. And Accomplished Chart 873 says, update us all. When you purposely play off of your wife's insecurities and it backfires on you and start an emotional affair with your coworker because she's pretty and confident and sees you for you. Can't wait for this dumpster fire. And Natural Writer 9702 says, this whole situation of tit for tat is so childish and will slowly destroy this marriage. He's enjoying that his wife feels upset over this as payback for his feelings about the wedding. Dude seriously needs to grow up before he implodes his entire life.
I mean, I think that's a good point too. Like, if you're doing something to make your partner suffer,
Yeah.
it's time you examine your actions, because you shouldn't want the person you're closest to in the world to suffer.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree completely, right? If he's doing this explicitly to, like, turn the screws on his wife, then that is completely uncalled for, right? If he's doing this because he really wants to have a solid friendship and he has a connection to this person, I would have a hard time faulting him as long as this isn't an emotional affair.
Well, I still have to fault him because it seems like he's doing this specifically in response to his wife going to the wedding. So,
Yeah. I mean, certainly, like, I agree on that. Like, there's layers here. There's layers here. And Intelligent Flow 2572 says, right, like she attended the wedding of a guy who's been her friend since she was a toddler. And he got so insecure about that that he started an emotional affair with some person that he just met at his job. Creep. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not being okay with my husband's ex moving into our guest room even though she has nowhere else to go? My husband, a 34-year-old male, and I, a 29-year-old female, recently bought our first home together, and we were excited to finally have a space that was ours. A few weeks ago, my husband's ex-wife, a 32-year-old female, reached out to him with a request that completely threw me off, since she asked if she could move into our guest room for a couple of months. She recently broke up with her boyfriend, lost her apartment, and claims that she has nowhere else to go. I understand that they share an 8-year-old daughter and they have a good co-parenting relationship, but this just feels like too much. My husband didn't even consult me before telling her it might be possible. He just expected me to be okay with it because it's temporary for the sake of their daughter. I offered to help find her another solution, even offering to chip in for a hotel or a rental. But my husband shut that down, saying that I was making things difficult for no reason. He's been pushing hard, saying their daughter would benefit from her mom being nearby during this transitional time. But it feels manipulative to use their daughter as an excuse. Plus, his ex started texting him constantly, way more than usual, and he's acting like her emotional support system. I can't help but feel like this is crossing a line. They're divorced, yet now I'm supposed to live with both of them under one roof. It feels like I'm being pushed out of my own home. This morning, things got worse. His ex texted me directly saying that I must not care about their daughter if I'm unwilling to help. That's just not true. I care about their daughter, but I never agreed to share my home with his ex-wife. I feel like I'm being made out to be the bad guy here when all I want is reasonable boundaries. Now my husband and I are barely speaking. He's acting like I'm heartless for not wanting to help, but I feel like I'm being forced into a situation that makes me deeply uncomfortable. So am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
no, not the jerk. OP even offered to help. I think offering to help her find a different place, offering to put a little money, is more than generous for a woman that OP barely knows. And I think her husband's insistence that she has to move into their house, and her insistence that she has to move into the house, I would really investigate those motives there. Because again, if it was just a concern about her not being housed, the OP helping her find housing and fund housing should have been it's a very generous offer, and it should have been like something that they would at least entertain.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't at least entertain it, because I think that that would have been at least something that they should have entertained, right? Because I can understand why OP would be uncomfortable with this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is his ex after all, right? But I mean, it also seems like they probably, are, divorced for a reason, right? I don't know why he's pushing this hard, but I think that the emotional blackmailing, the guilt
Mm-hmm.
thing, all those kinds of things, and then sicking his ex-wife on OP, those all are really bad things about the situation. I could understand him, like I think like when OP said, "Oh well, he didn't consult me before he said that he would take it into consideration," right? Like it was a reasonable response to be like, "We might be able to do that," right? And then talk to OP and see if that was something that they could actually work out. But if he's like unilaterally making the decision where he's like, we'll talk about this, and then he approaches OP and is like, oh, we're doing this, by the way, I can understand her deep frustration with that, right?
Right. And it really does seem like she is not being treated as an equal person in this household. Like her say doesn't, I mean, like if you don't do this, then like you're ruining everything. Like I know I say I'm giving you a say, but you don't really have a say.
Yeah. So I think that this is not a good situation for OP. It seems like it's very much like he's calling the shots.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to guilt her. He's trying to push her into a situation that she's not comfortable with. And aside from all that, I think like having your ex in the house, that can raise some difficulties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if even if you're amicable, there's still going to be a lot of hard feelings and other types of things that could arise from that situation, right?
Yeah, I mean there are like I can either blow up in their face and that like things get really explosive, all
Yeah.
the fights they were having before the divorce come right
Hmm.
back up, or it could be they rekindle feelings and things go bad in that direction. Like it's not a recipe for a good time.
So I do think that OP has, grounds to have apprehension about this, right? And with them offering additional help, I think that they're being very generous with their offer here too. So I can't fault OP in this situation. I think they are making reasonable requests here. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Melodic Ranger 926 says, definitely not the jerk, and he's being a jerk if he can't understand your point of view and gaslight you by making you sound like the jerk for not caring about their daughter and not wanting to help. This is totally ridiculous and disrespectful to you. Is he always this way with his ex? I would be suspicious of the relationship. And OP replies, it's been really frustrating because he's making me out to be the bad guy just because I don't want to live with his ex. The whole you don't care about our daughter argument feels manipulative and completely unfair. Of course I care about the daughter, but that doesn't mean that I have to sacrifice my own comfort and boundaries. As for this relationship with his ex, I wouldn't say that he's always like this, but they've definitely kept in closer contact than I would expect. He says that it's all about co parenting, but lately, with the constant texting and emotional support that he's giving her, it's making me uncomfortable. It's starting to feel like there's something more going on, or at least a lack of respect for our relationship. It's definitely raised some red flags for me. And Luisanne Gothic says if they cared about their daughter, they wouldn't have set up this ridiculously tense living situation and skewed her to understanding of healthy boundaries, not the jerk. And OP replies, that's exactly what I've been thinking. How is creating a tense, awkward environment beneficial for the daughter? It's definitely not teaching her healthy boundaries. I'm all for supporting her well being, but this situation seems like it would only cause more confusion and stress for everyone involved, especially their daughter. They're trying to frame this as what's best for her, but honestly, it feels like they're just avoiding other solutions that would be much healthier for all of us. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
I was trying to figure out why my basketball kept getting bigger and bigger, and then it hit me.
There you have it, folks. There you have it. The basketball was constantly expanding, and then it ran into
Yeah, I don't think that's how it
the person
works.
who was telling the joke. So it's like the inverse of a black hole. So, or something like that. And I have Earl Grey. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, wonderful, wacky Wednesday, Friday, Junior's Eve, Hump Day. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it a haiku for Haiku Wednesday.
It's okay to not want to live with your partner's ex. It's your house too.
I think that works. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.